Caesar looks different here.
My cash out don't work, my boy.
All right, what's going on, big dog?
What's up, man?
Good to see you, man.
What's up, YouTube?
Hello.
This is Apex Powerlifting. This is going to be a little more formal video than usual.
We're gonna do a little bit of kind of a actual coaching learning experience rather than just lifting. So we just put up a couple of videos we were looking at of like our most recent meet. So that's kind of like where we're at now, and we're gonna go back and kind of see what we were doing differently going into our first meet, which is gonna be a lot to talk about.
And maybe it can be a learning experience for other people as well.
Go ahead.
Bro's thirsty.
So our garage gym mascot is actually gonna be reflecting on this first meet experience with us here today. So he's gonna be chilling here.
Any thoughts so far?
Okay, so we've got a couple of old videos pulled up here, which will kind of help us to illustrate the experience. But before we get to that, we're first going to talk about what our kind of expectations and preparation for the meet were. So I did a first meet before he did, so I was kind of in it on my own on this one. As far as preparation goes, I did not have a coach. I didn't really know a lot about powerlifting at the time. As far as preparing and training for the meet went, I was kind of on my own there, figuring it out as I went. I did a lot of heavy lifting. I can't really put a finger on exactly what I was doing, but you know, if you have the opportunity to have a coach kind of help you prepare for a meet, I would definitely take that and have somebody else kind of help you from an outside perspective. But I did have Jacob here on meet day to help handle me. So what a handler does is helps you to choose your attempts, helps you get warmed up, helps you pretty much keep everything smooth throughout the whole day. So all you have to worry about is actually going out there and lifting.
And a lot of the time, the coach is the handler.
Yes.
Because they've been working with you for however long you've been in preparation for. So they kind of know what numbers you're capable of, stuff like that.
So that's kind of how I prepared going into meet day. And as far as expectations went, I was unsure of kind of what to expect. I didn't have any friends who had competed before, and it was just kind of my first time diving into an experience like this. So I kind of just showed up, tried to be open-minded, and, you know, just kind of went out there trying to hit PRs. You know, if you're a newbie to powerlifting, all you should be really thinking about is, hey, let's hit some PRs, you know? Don't overthink anything. There's a lot of different things that go into training and competing, but all you really need to worry about is just giving your best effort, you know?
Some people will never compete because they're just like, I'm not ready. Like,
yeah.
When do you think people are ready?
So you could say I've been lifting for 2 years, but I pretty much had just started powerlifting like a few months before, like actually focusing on the big 3 lifts like that, you know?
We basically just had like a rickety bench in here. It made it really difficult to squat. Obviously, we don't have safeties.
Yeah.
We would do it sometimes.
But I didn't know what it was like lifting on competition equipment or competing with judges, or how the day is gonna be, how the day is running, like attempts and how long everything takes, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, my expectations were just like go in and figure it out as I went, which is okay for beginners. But if you have someone who has experience, or you have a coach who kind of knows what to expect, you know, definitely try and get some research done beforehand.
I'll go through my training. My training, I was mostly just following like cookie cutter stuff. Towards the end, he helped me a little bit, but we both didn't really know anything about actual like peaking or anything like that whatsoever.
You look so small here, dude.
I know. I mean, my body weight naturally then, I'm about 40 pounds heavier now than I was then. And it's not really something I was concerned about at all at the time. I didn't really have any specific goals or anything. I mean, the most general was like I wanted to win by weight class and like age class, which is just, I mean, I feel like that's everyone's kind of goal going in, is like you want to do well in it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's important that people don't put a label on it of this is the level you need to be to go to a competition.
That's why I'm saying that. Like
yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying nobody should ever go, but like at that point, I probably shouldn't have gone.
Yeah. But no, I mean, a lot of people, realistically, you just go out there and you just do the best that you can, and that's your starting point, you know? If you never start, you can never really get anywhere.
Like, if you do one and you hate it, then at least you know that you hate it, or you'll really like it. You'll be like, okay, well, now I have this benchmark. In the future, I want to be here in the next half a year, or whenever you decide to do your next meet. Just to recap, we basically had nothing. We just signed up. We did our best and whatever. Neither of us had really much of a taper or like a game plan. But yeah, so I guess now we'll get into the actual attempts.
Oh, I did my first meet in quarantine, so here I am lifting with a mask. So here's one of my squats. I mean, I had an okay squat. We'll get a little bit more into that later. But yeah, I mean, technique-wise and stuff, I just kind of dive bombed it down and squatted it back up, you know?
I really don't, I can't say anything that's really wrong with this though.
Yeah, there's nothing really wrong with it, but I mean,
like, it's obviously not perfect, but like it's pretty good.
Yeah, it was not bad. Okay, and this is my third attempt bench. This is 248 pounds. Bench is probably my weakest one at the time. All right, so
that was definitely out of the 3. This is his worst technique at the time.
Even probably now, but yeah, I had pretty much twig, super long arms right here, and you can kind of see I'm suffering from that. I have a lot of elbow flare. I bounced it really hard on my chest, and I kind of just sacrificed like my shoulders to get that up. And that's something that's maybe a little bit confusing, is some of the more niche rules and stuff that you don't really think about when you go into a powerlifting meet. Is like, hey, the judges are going to be looking for this, this, and this. Like, they're going to make sure your feet stay flat and your butt is completely on the bench and stuff. And sometimes you kind of just need to like figure things out on the fly if this is your first powerlifting meet. I always ask the judges, if they give you a red light for a no lift, ask them, hey, what did I do wrong? What can I improve on?
Yeah.
Try and get it on the next attempt, you know? And then here's your deadlift here. Look how tall you are compared to the spotter, bro.
I know. I'm also, I mean, we're both like rather tall guys. Oh, youch.
All right, he got it up though. 187.5. That's like 413, I think.
Yeah, it was 413.
Yeah,
I remember that, and I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, so that's what our first meet kind of looked like. We've shown a couple of different lifts from each of us, and then kind of the next thing that's kind of important about going to a competition is the competing part. So there's going to be other people who are there trying to put up numbers to be stronger than you and to win first place. I think I, at my first meet, got second out of 2 people, so I lost to the other person in my team. Same with Jacob, so I think you got second out of 2, or maybe
Mine was
third.
weird. There was some situation where some dude was going in a later session. I got like a medal I probably shouldn't even have. Nobody tell them I have that medal still, please. I like the competitive aspect. Some people really don't. It's like some people are like 100% just like you against you, which is totally fine. I don't have an issue with that. I enjoy competing other people and like trying to podium. I don't think you should ignore the competitive aspect, because it really only stands to help you improve. It's not like plotting on other people's downfall. It motivates everyone to do better.
Yep. And I was able to actually learn and become friends with the guy who was in my weight class. So he won first place and I was second, right? And then a couple years later, he goes to the same college as Jacob, and I run into him. I'm like, yo, like,
yeah,
I haven't seen you forever, man. Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had, because he was a good bit more experienced than me, he was the one who kind of introduced me to low bar squatting, talked to me about a few other things. Like, I'd never had a coach before, so that was kind of my first learning experience in like the sport. So that was always cool.
Caesar looks different here.
My cash out don't work, my boy.
Caesar is home.
I don't like it. As far as my attempt selection, I just kind of knew my third attempts, I wanted them to be close, if not like a tiny bit more than my gym PRs.
I mean, that's definitely a good goal to strive for, is always like have a first and second attempt that kind of builds up close to your all-time PR, and then for that third, if you're really feeling it, go for a little past what your old PR is. But I mean,
especially when you're starting, maybe when you're later, it's harder to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely a different game when you're more experienced. But for your first attempt out of 3, you want to be super conservative, just because you've never experienced the level of like judging, and sometimes also like the quality of equipment that you're going to be using at a meet. And then from there, after you get those first 2 attempts on the board, kind of give yourself like a good place, put yourself in a good spot with already like numbers on the board. Then you try to go for a risky third attempt. Yeah, I was actually just going to pull up what the attempts were that I did. So
here's the open powerlifting page.
So for squat, I jumped 358 to 385 to 407. So there was like a 50-pound gap between my first and third attempt, basically. And then bench here, a little bit of a smaller spread. So on this one, only 23-pound gap between my first and third. So, and then you can kind of tell from the video that my third bench was pretty difficult, barely got it. So I may have opened a little too heavy on bench, being that close to an RB10, 248. And then for deadlifts, it was pretty much the same deal as squat, where I jumped like 50 pounds from my first to third. So 496 into 529, that's like a 35-pound jump. And then 529 into 551, that's like another 20 pounds basically. So yeah, I mean, all of those moved, I think, decently well. And that's kind of another thing with the temp selection is, I had similar goals to you, where I was just trying to beat my PRs, but I didn't really know how to space these attempts, just because it's a little bit different than like when you're in the gym, because you're not trying to hit 3 attempts. You're kind of just warming up to like 1 set.
Overall, I think both of us did like a surprising job. Like, and if you do miss attempts or anything, it's definitely not the end of the world. Like, I missed that one bench and I was just like, whatever.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah, I was just like, and I watched the video back, I'm like, no, fair enough.
Yep.
Like I said, there's lots of calculators online. I would probably use that if you're thinking about doing your first one, personally.
Yeah, so part 3 here is kind of what we learned, and then a few other kind of side notes on how everything went down. When you're going into your first meet, you really shouldn't worry about your weight at all. You should kind of just see where your natural weight is and just choose the weight class that you're under. So it doesn't matter that I wasn't close to the top.
If you want to bulk too, that's better. I definitely would not cut.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you're doing it for some external reason. Like, I wouldn't try to cut to be more competitive. It's just not really worth worrying about.
You're worrying about your own performance and what numbers you can put up, what PRs you can set. And then when it comes to equipment,
don't need anything really. You need deadlift socks. You need a singlet, and you need like a shirt to wear under the singlet that's gonna like it's not gonna have logos or whatever.
That's the minimum of equipment that you need. I came in with I had a belt and I had knee sleeves. So those were the 2 things that I was using for my first competition. Your first meet, just don't change anything from what you've been doing in training. And if you haven't been lifting for that long, don't worry about like the fine details of using things like that. Until you reach like a certain level, you're just gonna progress no matter what, you know?
But like it's not like you need to go in there and be like the strongest you can possibly every
minuscule detail.
Yeah, like you're not gonna need to squeeze out the tiniest amount of weight you can, and like there's nothing on the line for that, you know? It's more just getting that first experience, and it's not like you're not gonna be in a super competitive position right at the start.
I think the best part of doing your first meet as like a learning experience is just kind of getting a feel for what powerlifting really is. I mean, you kind of see like what the community looks like.
Well, we're 64 days out from our next meet. I've added about 500 to my total since then.
Yeah, I've gotten about 300 increase from where I started. So, I mean, I think we're both pretty happy with where we've ended up in the sport of powerlifting. But yeah, it was actually really cool reflecting on our first powerlifting meet as an experience and seeing kind of where we're at now.
Let us know if there's anything you want to see us talk about or do.
Or if you have any other questions about what our first meet experience looked like, or, you know, what
I'd be shocked if anyone is still here at this point.
Or what to expect at your first powerlifting meet. So, okay. Thank you for watching.